Well,
Should I
oh,
should
go
I
ahead.
put a microphone in? Would that be better?
It sounds fine to me. It's whatever you're
Okay.
comfortable with.
Yeah. Oh, it sounds fine to you?
I think so.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Well, thank you so much for helping my project. I was wondering if you could start off by talking about yourself and maybe Lifeship as well.
Yeah. 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 I'm excited about what you're doing, putting all these interviews on the moon, and I'm working on a similar thing in a way, as we're doing a genetic backup of humanity and many species from Earth on the moon as well. And so I started this company, Lifeship, and we're a consumer genomics company that sells a kit for like around $100. So it's targeted at making space available for large numbers of people and making it so many people can participate in a space mission. And then so we have this kit we call the Moon Kit that people can get and provide a saliva sample, and then we extract their DNA and add it to this time capsule on the moon.
I was just thinking about all the different ways that might be recovered and used in the future. Just kind of 1,000 years from now, maybe seeing how genetics has changed over time. I mean, especially if there's like some big radiological event here on Earth, you might not have any type of record of those things here.
Yeah, we live in a time of massive change, and our species is continuing to evolve, and all life we know of is on one planet. So it feels like a good thing to save a biobank backup of Earth somewhere else. But I'm excited about it for like not like the doomsday what if like scenario, but more like it being also a symbol and a path towards, okay, humanity and life is ready to start moving outwards, and maybe this is the start of like, okay, we save a capsule on the moon, but then further on we send our blueprint to the stars and send it outward, and or maybe someday, hundreds of years or whenever, humans might go on a ship and set sail for the stars, and when they go, it'll probably only be a small group of humans, and what they'll bring is they'll bring the genetic code from thousands and millions of people and other species when they go in search of a new home out there and around another star. And so maybe like they'll go and get this capsule and bring all the DNA of the people of that added to it. And so that's more the okay, there's an inspirational, like, this could be part of going in both like being in right relationship with Earth and caring for the Earth, but then also like life spreading out as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the spirit of your project is about how can we get as many people involved in this expansion as possible. And obviously, sending people to the moon is prohibitively expensive. Sending people to Mars is prohibitively expensive right now. Hopefully, both of those change. But you see, like with NASA, like send your name on the rover as a way to just kind of send a little bit of piece of yourself, and kind of feel like you have some type of personal connection to that. And then with your project, actually sending the genetic code that defines the unique proteins that make up our cells. And then you also have, I think there's one service that will take your ashes and take some part of them and put them in space. And then I'm also working on taking people's recordings and sending them. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, connecting people to space in all different ways. Yeah, making it, it's been so inaccessible, and like, only governments with hundreds of billion dollar like budgets could do something in space, and astronauts who've trained all their life as fighter pilots could go, and go to the moon, or like billionaires who can leave a legacy and do something like in space. But now, now it makes it so anyone can do something and tell their grandkids like, oh, a piece of me is up there, or like my genetic blueprint is saved for the future. So it touches on all different things, from like the like nostalgia of wanting to be an astronaut and going to space, to like, I don't know, the eternal quest for eternal life. Like oh, in some ways, like you're saving your blueprint. Potentially, you could be back. Yeah, so it combines a lot.
And I guess, how did you get started on this project? I mean, can you kind of take me back to um, where you first had the idea? Like, uh, what's the spark?
Yeah, like I feel like it was a long time coming. I had worked on instruments to go on Mars rover missions while in grad school at Berkeley, and so ones to look for amino acids on Mars. And then I went and built big telescopes on mountaintops around the world for 8 years. And so those were like looking for life out there and looking for planets that could have life or could host humans in the future. And then I joined a company, Planet Labs, and we launched like 300 small satellites into space while I was there for 5 years. And so I built a lot of things in space. And I remember the first satellite that I had worked on, like I had many sleepless nights into this satellite, and like late nights like building it to get it ready for the rocket launch. And I remember when it launched into space, I was like literally like my blood, sweat, and tears were up in space. And so there was like a bit of like a wow, like my DNA is up there. That's not many people's DNA has gone to space. And so that definitely like all led to it. And then like the big spark came after I was down in the rainforest in Guatemala at this yoga retreat, and doing a lot of meditation and yoga. And I went for this long walk in the rainforest by myself, and it just felt so inspired and connected to all the insects and the fungi and the like critters and the plants in the rainforest. And got the sense that like humanity's role here, and like perhaps like what we've evolved to do, like what the earth has helped evolve us to do, is to both take care of all the species here and then help the earth birth more life outwards. And that like in the grand scheme of the universe, the earth is the start of more life that'll come. And that humanity's role is to help send life outwards. And so like in that walk in the rainforest, the vision came with start with little seeds with DNA from all different species, and do that in a way that can connect lots of people. And then eventually maybe it'll turn into a mission that we send these to the stars. And so it was born out of the rainforest.
Oh, that's amazing. To think, your business would probably be a lot more difficult to do without the Commercial Lunar Payload Services program. I mean, by having kind of NASA changing the way they contract for missions creates a space where a whole bunch of businesses like yours can spring up at reasonable prices that would have been impossible before.
Like what you're doing, it's like putting these recordings up in space, putting our names on Mars over. It's like I don't know, like space as a platform. Like it's like the infrastructure is there that then you can build the apps on top of it, and you don't need to go reinvent rockets or do like convince NASA to fly it or make it a government program. It's just you can just purchase space or and send things up. And and like I was thinking, I was like, what's like a real small thing we could send to space that's really valuable? And like there's like data and information, or like DNA, and like I got hooked on this, like, oh, DNA is like, why aren't we backing up DNA? Like it's we should be recording all of life. And yeah, so the commercial programs have enabled us to treat this like an app, essentially.
Some may argue that data and information and DNA are really the same thing.
They are. It's nature's programming language. Yep. Yep.
So when did you find out that we were planning to send people back to the moon in 2024?
Good question. I have, like, I've been in space for a while, and I've known the moon was coming. I've been tracking Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and like the next generation of rockets for a while. So I knew this was coming. When the U.S. like, and I know NASA like had other priorities and policies, but like there was a part of me that was just like, oh, this is what like many billionaires and the like want to do. This is like where the commercial industry is headed. Like humanity is going back to the moon. So I think when NASA like officially changed policy, like I don't know when they announced that, but like 2 or 3 years ago, then like it was almost like I knew it was happening anyway, and NASA was just getting behind what was already going to happen anyway. And I guess like, you know, NASA will greatly accelerate it and put more funding into it and help it in a tremendous way, and NASA has a huge role in it. But yeah, it was like, it felt like it was already happening as well. Yeah.
Yeah, most of the people I've talked to that aren't in the space industry don't know we're going to the moon, and I was wondering if that surprises you.
Yeah. No, like I've like seen this happening for years, like 5 or 6 years. I've known that we're going to the moon, and like, I don't know, within 8 or 10 years. And yeah, like most people can't think that, oh, humans are going to be living there permanently within probably like 10 years from now. And we're not just like sending people there to go. Like we're actually starting to build towards infrastructure and bases, and yeah, and that's hard for people to grasp. People feel it's much further away, but like the rockets are being built right now that are essentially like airplanes, and it's a 2-day flight away, and the rockets will go back and forth, and yeah, it's just going to be a very different scenario than how we've gone to the moon previously. And there's a lot of the infrastructure coming together. Like there's companies that are building the moon mining robots. There's companies that are building like the solar panel energy grid for the moon. There's like, you know, the data connection companies. And so like all the stuff, all these companies see that, okay, we're not just going there to put like a woman and a man on the moon for the first time in 50 years. Like we're actually like going to like build this out now. And yeah, that's hard to grasp how fast and exponential things are changing with it.
I know, and I feel like the 2020s are just space exploration what the 1990s were to the internet. I feel like in 1990, you would have an easier time explaining why astronauts float in the International Space Station, or in space. The International Space Station wasn't a thing in 1990. But then you would email or websites or online purchasing to like an average everyday person. It's just because it was completely beyond their realm of experience. I mean, in 1990 there was no cell phones. I mean, very few, and um, it's just. And then by 2000, it had changed so radically. Everything online, every major business had a website. Everybody had email. People were getting online, and I feel like by 2030, um, space will be completely transformed. And I was wondering if you thought that was a fair prediction, or if you see some challenges there.
For sure. Like the cost of getting things to space is going down by, I don't know, thousands of folds, and it'll be more. There's commercial space stations being built. There's commercial companies building habitats for the moon, and so it really will become much more of a more accessible to, it'll still be wealthy people initially, but it'll get more. So it's not like completely crazy for thousands of people to go up there, and it really feels like it's being transformed in a way that that's hard to see and hard to predict, and yet, like, if you look at all the pieces that are coming together, it's like, okay, of course it's all happening. We're gonna just figure out all the unknowns and start getting lots of people living there, and build cities and settlements, and figure out how to live more sustainably up there, and like come into right relationship with Earth as we're doing it. Like I also feel like there's that's a huge part of this as well, is we're not doing it in an escapist way. It's like also huge technological advances, like helping us live on Earth and live in better relationship with our planet here.
Absolutely, and I think part of that might be sort of seeing Earth as it is right there. I guess there we go. Yeah. More people who realize that Earth is just this tiny ball in this big place, and what we think of as being it's kind of interesting. From space, you see the oceans, you see the rivers, you see the greenery and the deserts and all these things. One thing you don't see, which you see on every map you get, is all the political lines, like the political distinctions. It's like looking for a map sometime that doesn't have the political lines. I don't think they're made.
No. They're, and that's what, like, that's the overview effect that astronauts get when they go to space, is they look at green continents and blue oceans, and realize that all humanity and all life are brothers and sisters and in it together on one planet.
And you mentioned that you saw life on Earth as needing to branch out beyond the Earth. And I think about some of our policies we have in place around planetary protection, and this kind of intense focus on trying to preserve the rest of the universe as some type of natural preserve. Like, it's okay for us humans to mess up the Earth, even though it's the one special place that we know about, but let's not go mess up the pristine universe. I kind of get this sense from people, and I was wondering if you've run across this as well.
Yeah, so like, I worked on instruments to go to Mars to look for little trace amounts of amino acids. So I care deeply about protecting places where we're going to learn about the origins of life, and like what other life exists out there. So it's something that we care deeply about with Lifeship, and what we're doing with the moon feels like a safe, logical step of DNA DNA is inert, is not living. You'd be very hard pressed to find a scientist that would feel like if you just put DNA molecules somewhere that they could turn into life. So what we're doing is like a tiny capsule of DNA, but like long term, whether we bioengineer spores that could then like transform a planet and create a life-filled planet, like I think it is. There's a lot of like philosophical and ethical questions there, but I do feel like more life in the universe, like if done right and in the right way, like is a good thing. Like I don't feel like we should just be here a blip on this planet and then disappear without a trace because we were too afraid of like contaminating anywhere else. Like there is so much vacuum and empty rock in space that life is what is like the miracle of the universe. and so like I feel like it's partly our obligation to make sure that life continues and maybe even to like give that spark to another planet. And it's possible that's why we're here. It's possible something crashed into Earth either intentionally or got knocked off of somewhere else, like, and caused all the life we know of. And so I think it possibly is something we should consider in the future, is like intentionally sending life to places.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you about that thought that maybe what you were talking about had happened here on Earth. I am curious, especially considering kind of your work in trying to trace amino acids and what have you on Mars. If you have in mind kind of a way to either prove or disprove the idea that maybe life on Earth originated from elsewhere.
Yeah. I think the more we like, it's most likely that if there was life on Mars, which there's a lot of evidence that it probably was related to Earth. It's unknown whether, and it most likely, because Mars was in a habitable zone before the Earth, it's most likely that it started on Mars. And I don't know, because DNA won't have survived that long. So I don't know if we'll be able to correlate whether the two came from the same type of life. But if we find something other than DNA's out there, and we find that there is like another fundamental molecule that is like the basis of life, then we probably know it originates different places. But yeah, I'm not sure if we'll be able to like gather enough evidence to know that Mars and Earth were connected if we find both life on both. But it's a big question.
So looking out beyond the decade, if you think about from now to the time that Christopher Columbus came to the Americas, that was about 500 years ago. Looking forward another 500 years, do you think humans are still mainly on Earth with like little bitty bases in places, making little day trips here and there? Or do you think fundamentally within the next 500 years we've actually been able to expand beyond the Earth and we're actually true spacefaring people?
Yeah, I think that's well within 500 years. I think we'll, we might even be sustainable on Mars in, I don't know, 50 or 100 years. Yeah, and then I think within 500, I think once that starts to happen and we really know how to utilize space resources and build spacecraft with automated robots in space and use fuel and resources from that we find out there, that we'll expand rapidly, and we'll be all over the solar system, and at some point we'll start moving beyond.
And if it was safe and affordable, would you go to space?
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I'll end up on the moon at some point. I think I think within our lifetime it'll be it'll be somewhat reasonable. And there could be tens of thousands of people living there in 20, 30 years. So I think I think the cost will come down like many, many, many thousands or millions from where it is, or like millions of times cheaper than what it would be now.
It's funny you say tens of thousands. That sparked a memory. Newt Gingrich, Speaker of the House back in the 1990s. In the 1980s, he proposed a bill that would actually make the moon the 51st state once it had 50,000 Americans living on it. I was wondering if you had heard about this.
No. Maybe like obscurely I remember something about it, but yeah.
I thought that was kind of interesting. We accuse our politicians of short-sightedness, and then you have stuff like that, and you're like, whoa. Of course, probably looking for the headlines from the unbelievability factor. Just the shock value is the right. How safe would it need to be? Like, would you go today, or do you need like a few hundred or thousand people to go ahead of you? Like,
I'm an adventurer. Like I've climbed big wall rock climbing things and big mountains and slept hanging off the side of cliffs, and so yeah, I have an adventurer part. I think the initial groups of people will be more astronauts and more like, or well, I guess everyone will be astronauts, but like more, more like that's their full-time career path is to do it. But I think, I don't know, like I would go, and I don't think I would do a one-way trip to Mars, like really, but the moon, if it's 2 days away and there's a little bit of infrastructure there, and either something that I'm like able to help with and go with a purpose. Yeah, I don't feel like I would be a first, but like could go anytime.
Yeah, I was just thinking, right now, if we went to the moon, you'd literally be in a artificial environment the whole time. I mean, you're inside of a ship, you put on a spacesuit and you go out. It seems like, what you really want to do for like a tourist type thing is be able to enclose an airtight thing, kind of some natural moon area where you could actually go out, you could pressurize it and what have you. And, maybe you pressurize something inert like nitrogen or what have you, and you just have people with breathing gear on. But that way they go out and actually interact with the moon, by themselves. It seems like we would need something like that.
Yeah.
They probably still want to wear gloves and shoes. I hear the moon particles are really sharp because of no weathering.
Yeah.
But well, Ben, I really appreciate the time. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get to?
If people want to learn more about what we're up to, they can go to lifeship.com, and I believe their DNA will go on the same mission as this this recording, and it's a mission I'm passionate about, and hope to bring lots of people along with it.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm gonna go sign up right now. So you got one more.
Awesome. Cool.
Well, thank you, Ben. You have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, Nathan. You too. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Awesome. Bye-bye.